We're just gonna watch a video. I'm not sure if it's gonna be worth responding to yet because I haven't watched the video. But the title is interesting. So figured we'll give it a shot and respond. Maybe if it's saying anything worth responding to, if it's saying some things that are completely insane, I'm just gonna be listening like awestruck, just like wow. So yeah, we'll see. Let's find out.
Everyone wondered how we have the older people of this generation living it up, living till
Well, that's part two. That's part one. I have part two upload first.
why do we enjoy suffering in this world? Ever
Howdy,
since
my
we were
dude.
born into this world, our parents knew the consequences of bringing a child into this world. They knew that there was a high probability of us suffering, be it being poor, being a wage slave, 9 to 5, being bullied
Let's speed
also
this up a
causes
little bit.
suffering.
He talks
Being a
kind of
victim
slow in comparison to me.
of rape, assault, um, parents bringing you to this world so they can live viciously through you. And if you fail to meet expectations, you become a failure. And then in turn, you suffer because you feel like complete shit. You're being indoctrinated to think that you have to please your parents and society so people will respect you. You know what? Fuck that shit.
Oh man, fuck that shit.
You don't owe any of these people anything. They bring you into this world solely to suffer. They fed you lies.
The only thing you owe is experience itself. As we say on this channel, the thing that is valuable in life is experience. It is feelings. Feelings are valuable. Feelings matter. So when it comes down to it, direct experience, positive and negative sensations, those matter. Appealing to people, pleasing people, being a people pleaser, making your parents happy because you obeyed them, that doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, it's good that they feel happy, but they could feel happy in other ways. In fact, they could feel happy causing like bad things. I mean, just because your parents feel happy in itself doesn't isn't necessarily a good. I mean, it's good that they feel happy, but the fact that they feel happy isn't necessarily for a good reason. Is what I'm trying to say. So it's just kind of like you shouldn't necessarily try to please people. I mean, they gotta be pleased for really fucked up reasons. I mean, we all know sadists exist and stuff. So it's just kind of like, you can't please everybody. Don't try to please everybody. Some people aren't worth pleasing. And we all know, like, the goal of evolution is to reproduce. We all know that the reason you are here is because your parents reproduced. They kind of fell for the whole evolution game. So it's just kind of like, I mean, I'm not saying it's not their fault. I'm not believing free will or anything. So it's just like, don't blame your parents. But I mean, we know why we're here, guys. We know why we're here.
Lies that you can be anything in this world if you just simply work hard. But they don't tell you that you can be exploited for your hard work.
Yeah.
People take credit for your hard work, and you can work so hard, and 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna make it. This world, in order to be successful in this world, someone else has to be rich. No, in order to be
This is an interesting point is that, like, in order to win in this world, someone has to lose. I mean, it's just, you can look at it as the most simple thing, just eating a meal to survive. I mean, somewhere down the chain of like life, unless you're like a Jain or something like that, like a Buddhist that practices extreme caution in every aspect of life, where you're constantly watching out for everything to make sure you don't interfere in another thing's autonomy. And all you eat is like plants and berries, things that aren't sentient. If you realize you're Jain, you're probably causing a lot of significant suffering in the universe of two things that are equal value to yourself. Because as I said, experience, feelings are what generate value, and there's quintillions of things in this earth that feel. So it's just kind of like, yeah, we cause suffering to things that are equal to ourselves. So it's basically as if we were causing suffering to ourselves. I mean, it's basically like if you're hurting yourself. Like we all know, like it's wrong to like cause unnecessary suffering to ourselves. Like we know it's painful, and we know we don't value pain. We know if we were suffering intensely, we would not want that to occur. But when it's someone else, there's this level of disconnect where it's like, it shouldn't occur to some extent, but you just can't feel it. You just can't quite manifest the same level of concern as if you or someone you really cared about in your in group was doing the suffering. So it's like this big disconnect.
Be successful in this world, someone else has to be poor.
So
So
it's just like, are you really winning? Is what I'm kind of getting at. Like, even if you aren't the one suffering directly, even if it's not someone that you care about directly that's doing the suffering, I mean, you don't really win. They're equal in value to you. So it's just like, by you not being in suffering, I mean, it's someone else. Like, statistically, like, that's how the world works. I mean, 1 in 5 people die of cancer. If it's not you that died of cancer, if it's not your best friend that died of cancer, that means that's 2 of the 5 that didn't die of cancer. Well, that means, statistically speaking, just add 2 more people, and maybe they got cancer or they didn't, but one of them, add one more, and statistically, one of you fuckers are dying of cancer. It's the fact. Once you get to 5, statistically speaking, one of you fuckers is dying of cancer. It is the odds. So it's just like, you can't really say that you win in life by just because you don't get the cancer. No, I mean, one, we all die in the end. But two, like, I'm just saying, like, negative experience is what matters. It's the death is just a lack of experience. So all of us get a negative experience at some point, and some of us get really fucking negative experiences, things that cannot be compensated for, so to speak. Like, you can just have to ask yourself, like, what in your life is worth a rape? Like, it's that simple. Like, literally just ask yourself that one question. Just like, what would you have to go through in your life that would justify a rape? Like, if there was a button that was just like, you are going to get raped, you can either stop this by pushing a button to the left, or you can push a button on the right and imagine a compensation or experience, and it will occur, and you'll still get raped. But you'll have an experience that you imagine will compensate for it, and that will occur. We all know everybody's going to push the button on the left to make sure the rape doesn't occur. No one's going to be like, unless you're like extraordinarily poor or in a situation where you're already getting raped. Like, if you're already in a situation where you're in enough suffering, yeah, you're going to choose to suffer some more to prevent a greater amount of suffering. But if you're not experiencing a pain similar or as intense as rape, yeah, you're going to fucking not. You're going to be like, oh, fuck that. I value preventing something like rape to the extent that I'm willing to pay any amount of money to not suffer. I'm willing to not acquire $1 million. I'm not going to gain $1 million to get raped. I know people have got raped, and I know that the experience is so fucking horrible that no amount of money can compensate for it. So it's just kind of like, oh man, like, we know experience is like extraordinarily horrible. We know there's no winning here. Like, if you wouldn't accept the rape, then it's just kind of like, why would you accept that for someone else? Because they're equal value to yourself. And if you know that the pain is not worth experiencing for you, then it's definitely not fucking worth experiencing either for them. So it's just kind of like there's no winning. There's no winning. The cost is someone else. It's like either you take the cost or they take the cost. And someone is taking the cost that is not worth it.
It tell you that this world chooses for those who can suffer and for those who don't suffer. It's like it's like a it's like a selection game. Either you get the either you get chosen to be living a lavish life and have bare minimum suffering, or life just fucks you over and over again each and every single day. I don't know how people I don't know how humans glorify suffering. Notice how anytime you suffer, they tell you that suffering is a part of the challenges of life. You gotta suffer to see the challenges in life because that's what makes you stronger. You see how conditioned these people are to accept suffering as a good thing. Now they're telling you that suffering is a part of life. That's how conditioned these human beings are. The amount of indoctrination just made them go insane. That they normalize suffering as a symbol of resilience when we could have avoided that as a whole. We don't even need to go through suffering. But the way the system is formed, nobody in this world has. Majority of people in this world don't even have original thoughts. So what do you think they would say when you tell them that you're suffering and you just want to exit this life? They're gonna call you a coward for not being resilient when suffering, while suffering, because because they fail to because they don't see life from your perspective. So they use their own perspective to they use their own perspective, thinking that everyone should view life the way they're viewing life. Ignorance is a bliss, man. When it comes to these NPCs in this world, it's very sadistic how these people glorify suffering and the nerve that they bring and the nerve that they have to bring innocent souls into this world, just for them to have no notion. They don't know any better about this world they're coming into, this prison life, this hell. Just for them to find out the hard way when they grow up that this life is not shit. This life is not what their parents made it out to be. Everybody's out to get people don't really care about you. People are just here to exploit you in any way, shape, or form. And we allow this shit to happen. It's us that allow this shit to happen. We allow to conform by the system. We literally we literally submit to this system. We advocate for mental health. Yeah, we're the ones that cause people to have mental health by working insanely amount of hours at work, getting tax getting tax heavy, barely having enough money to spend on yourself, having external factors out of our control fuck us up even more, living in unfortunate circumstances, being born poor, people looking down on you for something you had no control over. You see how dumb we are. That things that we have no control over, we expect people, we judge people based off of that. Yet we advocate for mental health. Fuck out of here with we advocating for mental health. Where was advocating for mental health the government was when the government be screwing people over, making their lives 10 times harder? Those people are going through serious mental health problems due to that bullshit that the government is pulling under people's noses. Yet they don't care about their mental health. As long as they're good, everything is Gucci. And the people suffering from that can deal with it themselves. This society is just backwards, brainwashed. That's why I don't see myself even living 5 to 10 years from now. It's how bullshit this world is. Having to fake it with certain individuals. I'm tired of that bullshit. Speaking to other people, speaking to certain individuals, you can tell they don't have original thoughts. All of them are just copy and paste. It's like they're pre-programmed to say things that you know that they're gonna say. It's like it's expected from
Yeah.
them when they're talking to you. So you just have to put on an act.
But think of the love in life,
Too
guy.
many clowns, too many clown tents in every single place you go. Clown tent in work, clown tents in college, schools, clown tents in church. All of them putting on a mask, faking it, acting as if this life is 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 something to be happy for, to be happy about. Living this life is a gift, while it's a complete opposite, it's a complete joke. And once you remove your makeup, your clown makeup, people will start acting, or the other clowns will start asking you why you don't have your makeup on. And the simple answer is you don't want to participate in this bullshit no more. It's come to a time you just had enough of the stupidity of of humanity as a whole. The amount of shit that I let slide with some certain individuals, man. That's it for now. I just wanted to rant a little. This life sucks, man. Peace out. Everyone wondered how we have the older people of this generation living it up, living to their.
We're gonna watch part two in a little bit. I kind of want to smoke. Fuck this. Fasciousness fucking sucks, man. The natalists kind of get it sometimes. Sometimes efilism seem to get it, but they're losing hope. And nihilists kind of just the skeptics and all that, and absurdists, and people believe in like paradoxes and shit. All these people just weigh on the mind of ephilists, and people don't believe experience generates value, and it's just like such a demotivating world we live in. We're just surrounded by idiots and stupidity and things that deny direct value exists. There's reasons to do things. So it's just like people deny the obvious, that there's consequences to actions, that feelings matter. There's a difference between a rock and something with a neuron. Like they deny the obvious. There's a difference between a rock and something that feels, has the capacity to feel. And it's just like people deny the obvious. It's like I don't fucking. How can you really have conversation? So it's just everything. A lot of things are just really fucking demotivating. So it's just like I don't know, man. I need to go smoke. People have the gall, man, to like look you in the eye and be like, "Yeah, your best friend who killed themselves. A tragedy, sure, but maybe they're watching over you. Maybe they're united with God and truly happy right now, or some bullshit. Even though they hated God in their life, they thought he was a monster that existed. But no, it's just whimsical happy cloud bullshit. It's just people suck, man. Referring to a conversation I had yesterday. Yeah. Testing 1 2. Marco, my boy, my child. Stop meowing in distress and enjoy life, my friend. Meow. Happy Kiki. Rubbing his face against the computer. Yeah? Let's plug the mic in. The mic might have turned off now that I think about it. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. There we go. Yeah, the mic turned off again. Anyways, let's get back to the video.
70s, 80s, or 90s. I just don't fathom how people can live that long and not wanting to exit earlier. What is so special about this life? If you're rich, then maybe, but majority of people are mediocre. Social status is nothing impressive, middle class. Living for 70, 80 plus years, working for not even wanting to retire, but working till 75. You can tell these people probably never even questioned the insanity of this life. All through their lives, they've been told what to do. They've been indoctrinated like heavy because they're clearly wearing tinted glasses. And people who see this world for what it is, we don't have tinted glasses on. We see this reality for what it is. And any sane person would not want to live till 70, 80, or 90 because this life is not a gift. This life is a fucking hell. I just don't get how someone can't, someone living for that long doesn't see this life as a, they don't see this life opposite from what we were told. This life is a gift. This life is nothing but a gift. It's far from a gift. I think prolonging your life for 70 plus years is just torture itself. It's not a gift in any shape or form. People be glorifying once the someone 80 plus dies. They'll be telling them that they'll be saying that this person lived a good life. They lived for so long. How they wish that they can live till old age. Why do you want to live till old age? You're just gonna be living a mediocre life, 9 to 5, being told what to do 24/7, being told when to go to the toilet, being told when to have your lunch break, having to deal with fake ass individuals 24/7, being criticized for bullshit, being criticized for not conforming to societal rules, having people nag you over stupid shit. If you don't have kids, people look at you as if you're selfish. If you don't want to exit this life, if you want to exit this life, people will. We have positive Peters and Patricia is calling you a coward while they're doing worse things behind closed doors, but they're never questioning. Yet they advocate for mental health. Those are the type of people that be advocating for mental health, yet they make your mental health even worse by giving you condescending, ignorant responses to how you feel, literally disregarding how you feel, disregarding your emotions. They don't even give a shit about you. They just put on a fake act, acting as if they're good individuals with a good intent. Yet they're doing the most violent, fucked up shit.
Apologies.
Like, what is this life? I don't see myself prolonging my life to 70 plus years because I see this life for what it really is, a pile of shit that I did not ask I did not conform to come into. It just happened that two brainless, nonsensical individuals decided it was a good idea to bring a kid into this world, having prior knowledge, knowing that this world is fucked up, knowing that you're gonna struggle in life. Yet when you come here, they tell you that they carried you for your mother will be telling you that she carried you for 9 months. You gotta respect her, and she struggled having you. No one told you to get fucked. There was no gun pointed at you against your own will, telling you to procreate. That was against your will. You chose to do that. You chose suffering upon yourself. You chose to struggle a kid into this, having a kid come into this world. So for you to tell us that I carried you for 9 months, I struggled every day, is not a flex. It's as if it's as if people love to brag about their suffering to one another, as if it's a accomplishment, telling people about your sufferings in this world so you can get validation. How is suffering something to be proud of? How is that flex? How is it an achievement? It's not an achievement. Prolonging your life also is not an achievement. It's like you're asking for dementia, you're asking for
I
schizophrenia,
just want.
you're asking for brittle bones, weak bones, brittle bones, high risk of diseases at an old age, being deaf, not able to talk, speech impairment while getting old. It's like they enjoy suffering because with old age comes with old age, suffering comes with it as well. That should tell you that humans do love suffering. I don't see myself prolonging my I don't see myself prolonging my life here. Man, just hope my demise comes sooner because I can't stand this world. Peace out. Old age comes with old age, suffering comes with it as well. That should tell you that humans do love suffering.
I don't know about that. I feel like we're just puppet by biological strings, and when it comes down to it, a majority of biology doesn't need to survive to old age. We obviously become fertile by the age of, like, if you're a female, whatever, somewhere between 9 and 12 or whatever, but they wouldn't survive the pregnancy. So obviously, most women throughout history probably didn't give birth until 12 to 15 or whatever. And when it comes down to it, obviously, that's not ethical. I mean, they can't consent and stuff like that through mental stuff. We know that. So I'm not advocating for anything of that nature. But when it comes down to it, we know that, like, most people died off at the age around like 30, 25, 30. So a more majority of people throughout history didn't they reproduced young, they died off young, maybe a few lived to be elderly and stuff like that. But their biological instincts are still strong. And it's not that people like suffering, it's more or less just that they're willing to accept suffering and basically anything because biological strings of survival are so strong. It's been programmed just for billions of years to survive through dreadful situations. So it's not that we love suffering, it's more just that we have billions of years of very, very strong biological coping mechanisms. And yeah, it's just kind of how it be.
I don't see myself prolonging my life here. Man, I just hope my demise comes sooner because I can't stand this world. Peace out.
Man, I can't stand this shit either. Oh well, do be.
How this battle be fought and how it be won is always sort of arbitrary. Obviously, sometimes it takes a Gandhi or a Martin Luther King or some other individual to initiate or create gravity that everybody centers around and focuses on and creates a cornerstone to build upon. All that kind of, you could use all kinds of metaphors. So who knows how that's going to work out? But yeah, the game has only just begun, so to speak. People shouldn't be playing God, especially people who don't even have $25 in their pocket. They certainly shouldn't be playing God because it's quite obvious they're not God. Some drug addicts certainly shouldn't be playing God because it's obvious they're not God. Some crack whore. None of these people have any power or control or ability. They have no merit to justify their arrogance in saying, I'm going to create life. They're not even Dr. Frankenstein. At least Dr. Frankenstein went to medical school. These assholes have no hope. They have no realistic prospect of doing it right. They have no evidence of any kind of competence. They are dysfunctional in the world that exists, and yet they want to produce children that they think somehow will be competent. Does that make any sense? No, it makes no sense. Anybody with a little bit of intelligence should be able to say that the people who are failing at life shouldn't be producing life. The future me, the person just like me who's going to be raised by natalists and raised in a stupid, idiotic world and is going to come to the conclusion on their own that life is stupid. I'm the one that can prevent his existence, act in his interest now, where it matters. He can't prevent his existence. I can, taking on responsibility for the victim I'm saying you don't have a right to create, that you don't have a right to impose upon. You have no right to make that victim. That's the argument being made. I'm taking responsibility in the sense that I'm saying I'm going to speak now for that victim. You're going to hear that victim's voice now, okay, before you violate it. All right, because I'm going to try to prevent the violation by making you hear the victim say, "Don't do it, shithead. I'm not going to appreciate it." Get it? Not complicated.
There's something I really want to watch at the moment, but I'm just gonna vibe. I don't know.
That's a beautiful jelly. Want me to? No. Rich, position. Sure want to know if he glows, but go in there. Look at that thing. He's reflecting the lights of the park on him. Looks like a firework. All right. So once he's disturbed, which is now, if you can back off, zoom wide. There's a different crab that we want to try and grab. Okay. Esmeralda, yes. Which one is? You said there was one that was further down. You want? It's the same, please. You think that one's the same? Okay. So if you can get your suction sampler out. All right. Oh man. I know. Trust me, you're talking to a midwater guy. All right. For what?
Hello, Tay. What's poppin', my dude? I think my mic's working right. Yeah. You an antinatalist or ethicist, or like how have you discovered my channel? I know you were on a different stream earlier that you commented. You said like hello or something with a question mark. I think also the exact message, pretty much, just at a different point. Ah, that is not good. Not good at all. Is your phone all right? Or, I mean, if it's bad, very bad, I assume your phone's not all right. But is there hope of recovery? Or is it just fucked? Rip. Maybe you should put it in like rice or something else that soaks up humidity. It'll kind of fix itself. Maybe. I don't fucking have hope, but you never know. You never know. I mean, you can look up some ways online, I'm sure. My mic just turned off. Yeah, it did, but it turned back on right away. Cool. Um, yeah, but are you an antinatalist? Or it's not wet outside anymore? Yeah, it's just moisture on the inside. You have to draw that out. Might take a couple days. It might not come out at all. It might already broken. Who knows? Yeah, but are you an antinatalist or an ethicist, or how did you discover my channel per se? Negative utilitarian or fellow panist? Yeah, you might have to buy a new phone. Hopefully your plan will. Hopefully it's not too new. Hopefully it's time for a new model or whatever. Think about the inefficiencies of life. I remember when I was like back in high school, middle school, and there's all these girls that would like purposely like smash their phones. Like I was friends of girls that would like fucking like smash their phones so that like the parents would buy them new ones. Like they would just like pretend that like they dropped them an accident, but really they would just like be in like the football like stadium or whatever, like after school, like like in the concessions and stuff. And they're like, I just want a new phone, and just like fucking like yeet their thing off the top of the bleachers, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why would I'm like? It's just one disrespectful of your parents' money. I mean, I don't respect my parents anymore because I'm an antinatalist, but like they do because they're a bunch of pro-life fucks. So it's just like they're like at the same time like love your parents, but at the same time just like being like, yeah, let's just like chuck like $1,000 like into the ground so they have to pay for my new shit. I could never understand that mindset. It's just like just that level of hypocrisy. Just like, yeah, I love my parents, but also lol. So who fucking knows, man? People are just so inefficient and weird and do not value other people's suffering like whatsoever. Like that's just a, I mean, it's such a silly example in comparison to like the obvious things. Like my best friend fucking killed themselves, and people just don't give a shit. So when it comes down to it, like like people are just gonna literally like watch their best friend kill themselves, and they're like get married a couple of years later, and just be like, oh yeah, let's just pop out a kid, like I know that's the case because people do that shit. Like people are pro life and they're like best friends, brothers, sisters, like off themselves and shit. And they just still pop out a kid knowing that like statistically speaking there's a 8% chance their kid's gonna off themselves also. There's a 50% chance their kid's gonna have depression, and be just like their brother or sister or best friend. So people have like very little empathy. So it's just like I'm not. So it's just like you could think of like situations like tiny little ones where it's like, yeah, kids just fucking eat their phones to make their parents buy new ones. But yeah, you don't need to think of little tiny little things like that. You can see the lack of empathy built in every single structure of society, every single little thing we do, basically. But when it comes down to it, like, you don't need to get into the small little hedonisms, the idiotic behaviors that are driven through everything. It's just like, just point to the extremes. It's enough. Just point to. It's just like the extremes are enough to show that this world's fucked. You don't need to like point to the little fundamental things of like, yeah, like there's just inefficiency examples everywhere. Like, just popped in my brain just for talking about he got his phone wet and it's gonna cost him a bunch of money and it kind of ruined his day. And at the same time that ruined a portion of your day, some people are just being absolute elitist children, fucking eating their phones into the ground. They don't give a fucking shit about the value and the costs and how slave labor went into mining the lithium batteries and shit. Like, people just don't care. People just don't care. Like even the small things like the phone really in a way aren't that small. Like if you think about the lithium battery and the slave labor that went into mining that, like sure it seems small in comparison to your friend's suicide, but if you really think about the value that went into making that phone, why it costs $1,000, suffering costs value, time costs value, labor costs value. That's the reason things cost the way they cost. It's the more suffering that goes into it, the more it costs because there's more demand for the object and less people that want to do that work. So when it comes to like lithium mines, no one wants to do that fucking work. Hence why it's quite costly and it's overseas shipping all this stuff. It's heavy equipment. It's like people literally die in these mines, get like long-term illnesses and shit. So it's like costly endeavor, and people just spit on that and they'll chuck their phones and stuff. Like, yeah, buy new ones every 1 year, 6 months, whatever it is. So it's like, yeah, it's like all the way down the system. Like people do not have empathy. They just I'm gonna unplug my headset because I feel like sometimes it like disconnects more while it's charging. I don't know why it does that. Anyways, I'm gonna play some music because when I play music, it seems to not disconnect my headset as much. Like it's like it needs like a constant stimulus feeding through the sound part. Otherwise, it like starts to like be like, I just want to turn off. I don't know why. It's a old ass PS3 mic, as you PS3 and PC mic. So Xbox 360. It works pretty fine. I mean, it has a little bit shitty quality, but it works well enough that I don't feel like paying for a newer microphone. I might do so though, because Black Friday's coming up pretty soon, and I might just say fuck it and buy like an actual microphone just to like plug into my computer so I can be like talk, show me like, hello, I'm Brandon Gill. We're talking about efilism today. I just want to fucking die, And then everybody's just gonna be like, wow, what a professional setup. And he hates life. Clearly, this man put some effort into explaining how shitty life is, Let's hear him out, I don't fucking know. But this mic, I heard myself through it. I can understand myself sometimes. Sometimes I'm talking really fast. It just kind of like sounds like a womp, a womp, a womp, 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 like some Charlie Brown shit. So I should probably get a new mic, but who knows? Yeah, I was distracted for painful with talking about my mic, but now I'm back to realizing the coping mechanisms don't last long. But yeah, there's a lot of asymmetries in life. Basically, the nature of my channel is just trying to convince people that simple premises, essentially. I mean, I'm a negative utilitarian slash painist. Basically, just trying to convince people that what matters ultimately in life is preventing unnecessary suffering. Preventing suffering altogether, basically, is the goal. Pleasure production is secondary, obviously. Like, it's a good thing to feel pleasure, but you don't have any obligations to produce it. I mean, there's ways to demonstrate these things, as I've done before in the past. But yeah, I mean, basic thing is just do not cause unnecessary suffering. I mean, if there's an immoral action in the world, it's causing harm to another being without their consent unnecessarily. And there are obvious actions like that. I mean, like, if you assault someone, like punch them in the face, I mean, it falls in the category of causing someone harm unconsensually and, unnecessarily, assuming that you're not, like, defending yourself, if you're someone else. So it's just like, if you apply that to anything else, so I'm calling someone a mean name, you're hurting someone's feelings, probably unnecessarily. Whatever, rape, what do you don't need to do it, it's unconsensual, it causes harm. And finally, what else? Like, you can insert anything, like anything that you could think of that's a bad thing, basically. It's something you didn't want to occur, aka unconsensual, causes you harm, you'd rather it not be happening. And yeah, it's happening to a sentient being, basically. So, and then you can think of, well, what's my point of this? Like, why do I, like, what's the point of my channel? I mean, obviously I'm pointing these things out, which is still a value, but, like, there should be like if I'm dedicating so much time and effort to this, I mean, surely there's a more motivating factor. Well, obviously, yeah, it's to prevent suffering. It's to prevent the catalyst of all suffering, which is birth, because birth is the ultimate form of suffering for production, basically. I mean, like, one, it's unnecessary, as we said. Like, what's the worst thing to do? Unnecessary harm. Birth, you don't need to have a child. If you really want a child, if you live in the United States, there are 500,000 children that need adoption, so you do not need to have a biological child. So number one, you do not need it. Two, all life contains harm. Facts. So it's just like you're causing harm. So in conclusion, birth is unnecessary and causes harm. And so therefore, as we agreed to, an immoral action is something that's unnecessary and causes harm. So birth is immoral. So it's just kind of like, that's what I'm basically trying to convince people of. Channels just don't cause unnecessary harm, and there's certain things that we kind of don't really think about really too deeply that turns out fall under the category of unnecessary harm, which would be like eating meat. We don't need to eat meat. We can eat a vegan diet. So we should probably, if we believe it's wrong to cause unnecessary harm, as most people do, we should probably be vegan to some extent or another. Like, we should be vegan / we should hunt for our food, Because no matter what, those animals in the wild will die brutal fucking deaths. So it's not exactly like you're preventing something that wouldn't have already occurred. So, and if you need a protein source and, the death is already inevitable and you're going to be preventing a net harm, because as I said, all things break down to basically pain experiences, harmful experiences, which is pain. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, you can get protein from other sources, so don't bring things into existence by supply and demand, like, I have reasons for everything. And so should you. You should have values. If you value preventing unnecessary suffering, you should be consistent with your values. If you value consent, you should be consistent with your values. Like, if you think consent's really important, if I'm not really convincing you of unnecessary suffering, you're more deontological, you value consent, say, well, you should. I think I have reasons for why you should value pain over consent. But let's say that, like, let's just pretend that the consent is like the real, like, ultimate thing that breaks down into like you should value consent and not causing an unnecessary imposition. Then it's the same thing. Like, all birth, no one consented to be here. None of us asked to be here. Animals, they're equal in value to ourselves. They also experience things. You can't really name a trait that an animal lacks that a human has that retarded person might not have also, or some person or humanoid that we can feasibly imagine that would also lack that trait, then we would also not apply the situation to. So we can basically say that, like, yeah, like, animals also deserve consent if, like, humans deserve consent. So they should probably be vegan under those circumstances as well. And so basically, I'm just trying to argue for, like, suffering reduction and, like, from multiple perspectives and trying to reduce that whole suffering through logical arguments. Simple arguments, the more simple argument, the better, in my opinion. So, doesn't mean to be too complex. Obviously, it can get complex if people start being like, but what about nature and stuff like that? I'm going to start getting into the complexities of evolution and the purposelessness of it all and get into all that nuance. But I don't think you need to. You can, but I think that's a simple fucking truth, Life is suffering. It's just that simple. Life is suffering. Everybody knows it. Eastern religion's been saying it for a long fucking time. It's just like, you can be complex of your arguments, you can get into the nitty-gritty of evolution or about biological machines running on consumption, reproduction, addiction, and parasitism, You can get into the nuances, and that's great. But at the same time, it's just like, it's pretty fucking obvious. It's right in front of us all. Just look into your backyard, you'll see the nature of things tearing each other apart to survive, the running on the puppeting strings, it's life is suffering. And you just kind of get it or you don't. You can explain the biology of evolution and might deny it, might accept it and then brush it off as God or the whims of nature, or just say nothing matters, or it might matter, but I just don't care. It's worth it for me. So when it comes down to it, people either they get it or they don't. Life is suffering. You're born to need, and you fulfill those needs. You're born a social creature with needs for socialization. You feel good when you socialize, but you're not actually creating a positive. You're just fulfilling the need that never needed to exist. You're filling in a hole, a negative, a thing that was dug out that needs filling. So when it comes down to it, yeah, life is suffering. There is no positive value, and at least not like an easily acquired positive value. Suffering, you don't need to work for suffering. Suffering's right around the corner. If I were to sit here and stop moving, eventually I'll starve. You do not need to earn suffering. Suffering just naturally comes. We need to fight to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis does not maintain itself. So when it comes down to it, life is suffering. It's obvious. It's viscerally obvious. And people either get it or they're fucking idiots. So there's not really much you can do about it. That's really discouraging, honestly. But that doesn't change the fact that you have a duty to do what you gotta do. Just as I experience suffering as a bad thing that ought not to occur for myself. And I know that is the case. I viscerally experienced that I ought not to suffer. Your value is equal to my own, just as your $5 is equal to my own. So you ought not to suffer, which means I ought to dedicate my time to preventing suffering. As I've already said, I ought to not suffer, and so therefore you ought to not suffer. But there's far more of you than there is of me. So that means if I ought to prevent my suffering, it's still better your suffering, but there's a bigger you than me. So that means instead of just blasting my fucking brains out as much as I want to, I actually have to go and help all you lot not do stupid choices in your stupid lives. So it's so yeah, I'm stuck here helping you all out. So yeah, it fucking sucks, guys. It fucking sucks. So it's like, please just make the right choices. And the more people that make the right choices, the better. I mean, the less duty I have. I mean, not really. I still have just the same amount of duty, but like, if there's like 10 people in the room trying to help one child, I don't need to be putting as much effort to helping the child, like, not bleed out or whatever, because it's 10 people, you know, you don't need 10 people to screw in a light bulb, so to speak. So it's just kind of like, if you have more people involved, you know, you can have less effort being directed by everybody. Everybody can kind of even out the workload. So right now, it's just like, life is fucking stressful as shit. There's a lot of responsibility thrust on very little people. Like, the anti-natalist community is kind of just like trying to do what they can, and the world's just kind of just spitting in their face and giving them a middle finger. So it's just kind of like, it's very demotivating, but it doesn't change the obligation. It doesn't change the obligation, but fuck. All I want to do is prevent unnecessary suffering. Fuck you, go to hell. That's basically what you get every day. And what are my banner will be done? Probably in a couple of days. I wouldn't be surprised if it got done in like 2 days, and it's gonna be like tomorrow. I have a giant Stop Having Kids banner that's 6 foot by 2 foot long. So it's like bigger than me. I'm getting it printed out. Yeah, fast signs. It should be done in a couple days. step up my activism game just a little bit. I mean, I already have a big ass sign. It's just the sign's gonna be like 2 or 3 times as big, so it's gonna be, and the message is a little bit more concise. My other message says abortion's an act of love and birth is catalyst of suffering and death, which I think are good messages, but people seem to be idiots and not understand that when I say abortion is love, I'm saying I am pro-abortion. A lot of people are so fucking stupid that they just assume that, like, if someone has a sign that says abortion, that they are pro-life. And they're like, so many people like are driving by me and they're like, "Fuck you, I love abortion." I'm like, yeah, that's what my sign says. I love it. Why are you saying fuck you? And then you just realize people are dumbasses and just animalistic tribal fucks, like literal animals. So they just like see abortion and just get triggered and assume you're one of the pro-lifers in the area and just don't even connect dots like remotely. Literally, how many words? Abortion is an act of love. 6 words, and they can't even process it. Like, people are so fucking dumb. So it's just like, you know, they can't even process that. And the other sign says birth is the catalyst of all suffering and death. That's 9 words. I'm expecting them to process that. Whoo! Yeah, and no, people don't fucking get it. They don't fucking get it. So now I'm going and shrinking it down to stop having kids. 3 fucking words. Stop having kids. Whoo! Can people process that? Can people understand? Will they get the message? Don't fucking know. Find out next week. But when it comes down to it, people are fucking retarded, y'all. I have no hope for humanity. They can't even understand that love a good thing, apparently a positive thing. Saying that you love something means you approve of it. You are like, that thing makes me feel good. That thing is an expression of my approval of the subject in a vast amount towards the subject. I love an Xbox. I love my family. I love whatever. And I express grand approval and desire for that thing to exist. Blah. So when you say I love abortion, you were saying I want abortion to exist. I want that phenomenon to not be banned. It seems fucking obvious to me that when you say there's a giant sign that says I love abortion, it's basically saying abortion should exist, should be allowed. When someone has an abortion, they're doing it for a good reason, a valid reason, you know. But people just don't understand that. They're like, oh, he's anti-abortion. It says abortion, and there are people around here that have signs that say abortion bad, so he clearly is saying abortion bad. Tribes, animals, literal monkey warfare. It's just like, come on, guys. Okay. If they can't understand that, what can they understand? And it's not just them. So if you're hearing this and you're like, yeah, those dumb leftists, they can't even understand their own allies. No. Because when I have the birth is callous of all suffering and death sign out, I'll see old fuckers that driving by at like 30 miles per hour when I'm counter protesting the pro-lifers. And they'll go beep beep and honk at me and give me a thumbs up out the window. And I know they didn't read the sign. There's no way they read the whole 9 words in the span of like 2 seconds when I looked at them in the window, and they're pretty much looking straight forward the whole time, and they glanced at my sign for like a quarter of a second. You know, they didn't read the sign. They just assumed I'm a pro-lifer, or they saw the word birth and death and they're like, yeah man, don't cause death. So, you know, it's not like the fucking right people are better than the left. No, they're all idiots. They're all idiots. The right, the people and the conservatives are idiots. The fucking left, the liberals are idiots. You know, like, they're all just fucking idiots. None of them get a simple fucking message that spans 6 words to 9 words. So I'm shorting it down to 3. I hope it fucking works. I'm making the sign bigger, you know. You don't have to squint anymore. I mean, it's a big ass sign. It's like this big. My sign right now is like this big. the words are huge. But a 6 foot by 2 foot sign, 3 words. If they can't fucking process it, I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about exiting the world. Like, if people will still give me the most stupid ass responses after this, like, I don't know, man. Like, if people can't understand just 3 fucking words, it just might not be worth it, man. It just might not be worth it. But we'll find out. We'll find out. Not saying I'm gonna kill myself, y'all. I'm just saying it might not be worth it. Might check myself into an insane asylum. You know, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. I mean, I've done that before, and it was not fun. So, we're not doing that again. Wasn't an insane asylum, it was an exaggeration. It was just a mental health hospital, but you know, well, I went up there for like 3 days, or 2 or 3 days, or whatever it was. But yeah, not worth it. Not worth it. Would rather just exit this plane. But yeah, when it comes down to it, y'all, like, life is just fucking brutal. It's a brutal bitch. Like, I have a duty to be here. Y'all have a duty to be here as antinatalist and efilis. If you're not an antinatalist and efilis watching this, if you're just sitting here chowing down on like a fucking burger or like cheesy chips or whatever the fuck, you know, some non-vegan thing, listening to this like, but I like all these things. I want to have a child, and these cheesy chips are so delicious, you know? Like, you have to recognize that other things in the universe have value too, other than you. Like, you know, other things are experiencing things as well, have sentient experience equal to your own. And if you don't want to start basically providing prevention, you know, I don't know what to say to you, man. It's just kind of like, I'm not telling people to kill themselves, I'm just telling people to prevent net suffering. And when it comes down to it, there are many ways you can prevent net suffering, you know. It's either do something like what I'm doing, which is, you know, activism, getting involved, making videos, trying to talk to people, trying to donate to organizations that prevent suffering by either, you know, demotivating people from having birth or educating people so that they have lesser birth rates, or increasing healthcare systems in the third world country, which statistically decreases the birth rate. You know, there's many ways you can get involved in preventing net suffering. But if you don't want to do those things, well, there's a one simple way that you can prevent net suffering for yourself. And we all know what that is. We all know it's the good thing for ourselves. I mean, I can get into promortalism if y'all want. If I can explain how death is not bad for the one who dies, but not only that, given the nature of life being a net negative, that it is inherently, and that there's risks that you'll never experience another good thing in your life, or at least not compensatory good, that it's always in your favor to end life early. So it's just kind of like, I mean, I'm not advocating for people to end their lives. I'm advocating for people to be better people. But when it comes down to it, if you don't want to be a better person, I advocate for you to be no person at all. That's pretty much what I say on this channel. Be a better person or don't be at all. It's like the old saying that your mom and dad said, you know, don't say, you know, say something nice or don't say something at all, you know? It's kind of like that, but with the nature of your entire existence. Do something good or don't do anything at all. So that's what this channel is all about. Motivating people. Sure, it's a depressive way to motivate people, but it's the truth. The truth is depressive. I'm not here to sell you sunshines and rainbows. I'm here to sell you reality. Value is dangerous. Value is very negative. It must be prevented. Don't you love this very nice, positive music? I can't actually snap. It makes me feel uncomfy. I like to pretend I know how to snap. It's like this, it feels really jazzy when I watch people snap. They seem like they're really into it, you know, like they got like some like rhythm and like, you know, that. But for me, it seems like the sensation of snapping, like just rubbing my fingers together, like I don't know if I'm like autistic or some shit. My parent, according to my psychiatrist, I'm not it's just not my psychiatrist anymore because I didn't show up to 2 sessions, and so therefore I got kind of eliminated from being a client first. But when it comes down to it, she was my psychiatrist, and she said I'm not autistic. But when it comes down to it, the sensation of rubbing my fingers together feels really fucking weird to me. It always has. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like if I like rub my fingers together, like the sensation of doing so is just too weird. And so when I try to like snap, it feels like it's like that, but like 1,000 times worse. It feels like I'm like rubbing the skin off my fucking fingers. It feels like, I don't know, like I'm gonna like tear the flesh from my bone or something. Like I don't know. It's just whatever. I don't even know the sensation. It's hard to describe, but it gives me like a visceral sense of like like unease to try to snap. Like I've snapped before, like once or twice in my life, and when I did it, I was like, "Whoa!" But like, it's complete coincidence because like I have to basically like completely tune my mind out and like willpower myself into snapping. Like it's really hard to do because otherwise it's just too much a weird pressure. No, it's like me trying to imagine like injecting myself with like a syringe, you know. Like I have anxiety about like syringes. I don't have anxiety about needles per se, like tattoo needles, tattoo guns. I have tattoos. So it's like needles, knives, pointy things, nah, don't really bug me. Things that inject things into you, that really fucking disturbs the concept of my brain. And it's very similar to that. Like it's just like the concept of snapping, like, so the sensation that comes with snapping causes like my brain to just think of weird things and just causes like nope, the brain to go like into nauseous fucking this should not occur, the universe is fucked mode. And yeah, it's the same with like syringes. I don't know, it's just an irrational like can't do this sort of thing. Don't know why I got on that tangent, but I'm glad I got on that tangent because I was in some really depressive places there for a moment, talking about the nature of promortalism for just everything comes to promortalism at some point when you start talking about negativity and value. It's just like, come on, guys. We all know we don't want to be here to some extent or another, or that like by exiting it wouldn't be a bad thing, and that you'd be preventing guaranteed harms. So that there are major benefits to exiting, and there's not a whole lot of guaranteed benefit at all to sticking around. So it's just kind of like, yeah, we know that's the case. So it's just like, why stick around? Well, I can provide you good reason to stick around, and it's just like, you know, yeah, I mean, now I'm getting depressive again. So let's just, yeah, let's take a chill pill, you know. I'm pretty sure I hear my mother walking around upstairs. She's awake, I imagine. How much money did I make Ubering last night? Probably not very much. I don't really think I made a whole ton. Yeah. Didn't make shit. But I also didn't really feel like Ubering very much yesterday either, so. Feels the same for you too. Yeah, man. We're on this boat together, comrade. I assume you're an antinatalist, efilism. I mean, if you're still here listening to this depressive content and haven't been like, this man's a complete psycho, you're, I assume, an ethicist or an antinatalist or a pessimist of sort, you know, some sort of, you know, realist, you know. So, if you can relate to what I'm saying, I assume you're someone in my boat, so. But it's hard, guys. Life's hard, you know. It's some day that goes by where I don't just like have flashes of her face, you know. Smiling sometimes, sad other times. Sometimes just imagine her face pale, dead, blue in the face. The pills that she swallowed, just all life drained from her. So life is depressing. You know, you imagine the happiness and you imagine the joy, and you also imagine what it's, you know, once you know how the person you love died, it's hard not to envision to some extent because you've seen their face so many times and envisioned them in so many happy ways that you know their expression from happiness to sadness because you truly care for them. You've seen their expression before. And once you do that, I mean, it's hard to not visualize them dead once you know how they've died. I mean, it's like saying, don't imagine a bear. Don't imagine a bear. Don't imagine a bear right now. You know, you've imagined a bear. You've thought of what a bear looks like. And it's just like once someone's just been like, yeah, your best friend, they downed a bunch of pills and overdose. I mean, like it's hard not to imagine what your best friend, who you know what they look like, you know, their skin's like a pale alabaster, pale, fair color, and it's just like you can just imagine like a pale, dead white, just all life drained from it, blue in the tips of the ears and nose. Just like you can imagine it, just cold and lifeless. When it comes down to it, yeah, man, life fucking sucks. Not a day goes by where I don't just anger doesn't just seep in, the sadness doesn't just seep in, and the rage. It's just you wanna know what motivates me? It's that. Just imagining her fucking pale corpse, the amount of pain that she went through, the amount of suffering, and the fact that it'll repeat over and fucking over, that she's a statistical blob. The fact that she got raped is a 1 in 6 phenomenon. The fact that she killed herself, 8% of people, 8 in 100, 4 in 50, 2 in 25. It's just like, you know, more than 25 people. Someone in your life will be like that. And if it's not your life, it's 2 in someone else's. Just repeat and just repeat and just repeat. Unless we do something about it, unless we go on the street and be like, hey fuckers, wake the hell up. Unnecessary suffering goddamn matters. It ought to be prevented. Unless you do that, it repeats. Just more people like my friend, more people like your friends, more people like your relatives. Just thrown in the fucking gutter. Another statistic. To be forgotten with your death. Dying with your neural pathways. Erased from the world. But their pain will never be undone. Their pain will never be undone. They may not suffer anymore, but their pain will never be undone. And it's a cruel fucking bitch. This is why I watch other people talk, because they are just like, and that's why I watch Gary talk, because Gary's just angry. Sometimes he gets a little choked up and sad in his videos, and really empathetic, but at least he's more angry than depressive. Me, I'm just kind of like, Gary's just like, and like inspiring in a way. I'm like inspiring in a different way. He's like, get angry. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, get angry. Other times I'm just like, do you feel it, brother? Why are we all here? Just to suffer. And I just like fucking rip into your goddamn soul and tear it apart. So, the different natures of channels, you get what you fucking get, I guess. If you want something a little more inspiring, maybe you'll get that here if I shut the fuck up and just play some Momentum videos. Otherwise, you're getting this. You get the fucking raw brand. You get sadness and anguish. You get anger and rage mixed with sadness, because that's all I am. I'm just sadness and rage. Basically just an ideology filled with anger. There's not much to me anymore. There's not much to me anymore. I don't value anything else besides preventing suffering. There's nothing I want to talk about. There's nothing I want to do. If I'm on like a date, I just want to talk about value. Every moment, just like they're talking, I just see it as wasteful. The words spilling, tumbling out of their mouth. I see the wasted value. Every word that I speak in response, that's all peachy and fuzzy and full of vile fucking bullshit. Just to try to get in their pants or whatever the fuck. It's just like a waste of time. Just as bullshitty as the bullshit spewing out of their mouth. It's like everything. It's like, what do you do? What do you do? It's just like, it's like simple pleasures of life are a waste. Like people will say otherwise. They'll say, virtual pleasures will tell me otherwise. You just gotta. The goal's the goal, man. You just don't understand the pleasures of love and feeling needed as a sexual being, and the sexual love dynamics are just like, once you get some anal, bro, it's like, it's the best sensation, I've done anal now. I've done that, and it's like, it's okay, I guess. Apparently that's the best sensation. Well, fuck. If that's the best sensation, I'm really fucking screwed, aren't I? Because I didn't even orgasm. I didn't get moved for it. Nothing fucking motivates me. Nothing besides rage. I can feel happy, but it doesn't really motivate me. I can feel joy, I can feel, I mean, it does motivate me, but it doesn't motivate me. Like once I'm already out of bed, it's like whatever, you know, maybe I'll go for an ice cream if I, back in the past, you know, maybe I'll go and try to pursue sex nowadays, you know, maybe I'll drive 2 hours to get a smoke or something. I'll do these senseless pursuits of pleasure illusion things, you know, like need chasing bullshit, fulfilling the need that, you know, that creates this pleasure illusion, the needless need fulfillment, aka pleasure. But it's just like, that's not what motivates me to get out of bed in the morning. I'm not gonna get out of bed for an ice cream cone or weed or whatever the fuck. I don't want to do that. It's because of suffering adventure. It's because there's a need. And it's just it's so fucking tiring though at the same time. It's just depressing. It's so undesirable. Like we don't want to do this. I mean, we do and we don't. Like obviously no one does anything like psychological hedonists. No one does something they don't want to do, but it's like we all want purpose, but we'd rather have our purpose be something fun. I'd rather my purpose be something enjoyable, like, you know, like truly enjoyable, not just like something that gives me purpose. So therefore I feel like I need to do it more than other things, which despite being actively engaging, don't provide any meaning. And given the fact that I'm a fucking bloody intellectual, my mind's too depressive to fucking be glib and just be like ignore the fact that meaningless actions are wasteful in value, and wasteful because time has value. Time is money, so to speak, and money is suffering. It's just, I don't fucking know, man. Hi. Just push this little creature. You stop rubbing your face on my computer and get over here. Cat. Keeps rubbing his head against my computer. You don't bite my arm. Whatever. 7 a.m.
do that. Yes, sir. Prolific signals there. Nice company. Yeah, over here. Marco, my boy. Help me. You do. What are you doing? Hey. Grab down with your towel. Here's some naughty. No. Yeah. Yeah.